Hi, everyone. The views, thoughts, and opinions expressed in the following podcast belong solely to the host and its contributors. They are not necessarily the views of our employers, organizations, committees, or other group or individual.
I'm David Campbell.
And I am Jordan Bullock.
And I'm Joseph Whitney. This is Brewing with BIM,
where we talk about construction processes, technology, BIM, and beer.
This is like the best we've sounded since we started recording our podcast.
It's because I'm here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Has nothing to do with the auto-tune. Jordan's
Not at all. I'm bringing the good stuff.
Yeah. Right.
Dude, it's the power in the beard, my friend.
Yeah.
There is power in the beard.
There is.
Yeah.
There is a lot of power
believe
in the
in
beard.
that.
Yeah, we got to work on that, dude.
Yeah, I know. I need to get it.
Man, listen, it takes
Gotta
time.
shape it.
It's a lot of commitment. It's not going to look pretty all the time.
Nope, that's true.
And you got to have a good barber.
Yeah.
I do not have a good barber.
My barber, he's top notch.
Yeah.
Top notch. It's been 8 years now. I don't let anybody else touch my beard. I don't even touch it.
Good to go?
All right, let's do it.
Well, hey, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Brewing with BIM. I'm Joe Whitney, and with me, as always, is my man, Dave Campbell. What's going on, Dave?
Hey, Joe. I'm excited. Here we are back again, day 2 at AU. And we have an awesome guest today. Adriel, you want to go ahead and introduce yourself, sir?
Absolutely. Gentlemen, first off, thank you so much for having me here today. Very excited. You know, it's the second I got the invite to be on, I was super pumped. Actually, I was in Atlanta a couple of weeks ago for a WWE event with my dad.
What?
And I ran into Chris Van Vliet, who was a podcaster, interviewer, both wrestling and entertainment. And I was telling him about this. I was like, I'm going to be on my first podcast, and I'm super excited, you know, and just... I'm stoked.
Heck
so
yeah,
I'm very
dude.
grateful, very happy to be here. And just a little background, you know, I'm Adriel Navarro, Senior Partner Consulting Manager at Autodesk, you know, help supporting our elite channel partners when it comes to post-sales services and on the pre-sales side, of course, you know, with scoping, making sure that the implementation is planned accordingly. More importantly, making sure that the elite channel partner teams have the resources they need to deliver and to implement and roll things out. Whether that comes from data sets, best practices, and of course, keeping you guys up to speed on the new stuff that rolls out.
Yeah.
You know?
Which is, I mean, obviously, I work with Adriel quite a bit, so he's been key in helping us keep up to date, like you kind of mentioned. To me, and that really just helps us make sure that we're rolling out these features. We are, you know, really supporting our clients, supporting, you know, everybody who's using this platform at the end of the day, that we're staying up to date to be able to roll things out when we have questions. If there's things in the background that we cannot get to, Adriel kind of has the connections there to, you know, bring those people in, to have those conversations, so we can get those answers right now. A couple things I want to talk about here, man. You know, obviously you and I got to spend some time in San Francisco. We got to kind of connect a little bit there, and I got to understand your construction background. Why don't you go ahead and tell us a little bit about that? How did you get to where you are now?
Man, what a journey. And the journey, a little over 5 years in the making, although I've been at Autodesk now 5 years this past August. It all started, you know, it's not even construction related, but I started out in theme parks and retail and things like that. And I found myself in an opportunity. I was living in Panama City at the time. I was a general manager, or store manager, if you will, for Finish Line. So I was selling shoes.
Heck yeah.
Running a store out there, and I did it
You
all
look
over
like
the
a
state.
shoe head, by the way, man.
Yeah, you know, my closet, you know, can speak for itself. Definitely still got quite a few dead stock Jordans, you know,
Heck yeah,
like
dude.
never worn. I still take them out of the box just to get that
Can
new
New
Jordan
shoe smell.
Yeah, new Jordan smell.
Can you tell your address into the microphone?
Negative, sir.
Right.
Negative. And so I was there, and I was looking to come back home.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, just miss being home, being away from family, you know, parents getting older.
Yeah.
6 hours away was not close enough.
Yeah.
So I moved back home, and I gave, you know, I don't want to call it an ultimatum, but I let them know. I was like, hey, come March, I'm moving, whether you have something for me in Orlando or not. And, you know, so March came, they didn't have anything, and so I made the move anyway. I sold cars for a few months just to kind of float around.
Pay the bills.
And,
Yep.
you know, I was just in a position where I didn't want to continue doing that. I wanted to do something more. I knew I had more to offer to just myself and the world. I wanted to challenge myself. And I had a friend who at the time was posting in our group chat hey, does anybody know anybody like engineer out of construction background or anybody out of college that we can, bring in? We're looking for an estimator. We just lost one, and we are drowning in work.
Mm-hmm.
And I reached out to my buddy and I said, hey, I don't know what you do, but I'm a fast learner. If you can get me a foot in the door, the rest is on me. And he said, sure. He got me in, got an interview with the vice president, chief estimator. And I'll never forget the question he asked me that I think is what got me the job. He said, why should I hire you with no experience in our industry at all over somebody who does? And immediately, because I'm a blank canvas, I'm not bringing in any bad habits from any other company. And you can rest assured that when you teach me how to do something, it's going to be the way you're teaching me. And that's the only way I'm going to know how to do it. So my quality of work is going to be up to snuff because that's the standard you've set for me. And not even 5 seconds later, he said, stuck his hand
out. You want
out.
a job, man? You're hired, buddy.
Yeah,
Come over.
He stuck his hand out. We shook hands, terms, conditions, stuff like that, and walked out of there with a job. And boy, did I not know what I had signed up for. I don't regret a second of it. I like to, if you've ever been to any of my presentations, I always talk about how I blame estimating for my loss of hair, although my wife likes to say it's my genetics.
Yeah.
But I stick to estimating being the reason. And so estimating for a site development contractor, not just site development, but we were pretty turnkey, self-performing in almost every aspect, other than maybe some as-builts, geotesting, and the actual asphalt going on the roads. Everything else we did in-house. We had our own equipment,
All the
our own
earth
shop,
moving?
everything.
That's all you?
Earth moving, infrastructure installation, your water pipe, your reclaim, your force main, lift station, stuff like that. We worked very closely, they still do. Obviously, I'm no longer with them. Very closely with the home developers. D.R. Horton, Meritage, Pulte Group, Toll Brothers, things like that. In Central Florida, it was such a booming environment during those years that it was very, very busy. So I definitely was trial by fire. I remember the first time they gave me a job to do an estimate. They gave me this 24 by 36 piece of paper, pack of highlighters, rolling scale calculator, and said, here you go. This is what you're looking for. Take it off.
Mm-hmm.
Did all of that. And I was like, man, this is a lot. They turn around after a couple of projects. They're like, so this is how you can do it quickly. So they had me learn the manual way so that when I got a hold of a CAD file and I was using various tools such as, earthwork and ag tech materials and things like that, I already knew what I was looking for.
You knew the whys.
Correct.
Yeah.
But I still, at that point, would prefer to have my 24 by 36 pack of highlighters, rolling scale calculator, and notepad. At least when it came to utilities. And I did become sort of like the utility guy there. I was, so something that I did so frequently that I was able to spit out numbers pretty quickly. They'd be like, hey, what's 8-inch PVC pipe running right now? And because that's all I did, I was, pretty good at having averages already noted and things like that.
Yeah.
So my construction journey started there, really just doing utility, eventually upgrading to doing, earthwork as well. And then it got to the point where I would get an entire project and go, hey, we were so busy. It's like, hey, you need to do everything. The earthwork takeoff, utility takeoff, whatever it may be.
Yep.
Really sharpened my teeth with that. A lot of big subdivisions. I think the largest one I did was a phase 4, 900 lots.
Wow. Yeah.
Just in phase 4. Phase 1, 2, and 3 were several hundred each.
Wow.
Phase 4 alone.
100 acres or?
Not, yeah, it's back in that, Winter Garden, Disney area where it's like all but just land on the backside. A lot of development taking place in that area. 900 lot subdivision. I could not tell you how, just counting gate valves on an 800 lot subdivision. And around that time frame, we had invested in PlanGrid, and we had somebody come in and do some training at the time as well. I was, hosting trivia nights 2 times a week to pay for college. I'm a clinical psychology, bachelor's out of University of Central Florida. Go
That
Knights.
serves you very well in construction, by the way.
It's helped, Go Knights, by the way. And I liked what that person did when they came and did the training. I was like, I think this is something that I could do. And, during the lunch break, she was like, hey, where's a microwave so I can heat up my lunch? And I volunteered to show it to her. And we were the only ones in the kitchen at the time, and I just said, hey, how can I do what you're doing? Exchange informations. 8 months later, I was offered an opportunity to join PlanGrid as an implementation or deployment services, things like that. And right around that time, it had just recently been acquired by Autodesk. So I was hired into PlanGrid, but we were already part of Autodesk. And that's really where the journey truly began. From PlanGrid, moving into learning BuildingConnected, Bidboard, TradeTap after their acquisition, then moving into Learn ACC. So if anybody's checked out learnacc.autodesk.com, voice might sound a little familiar. I put a lot of those videos together, both voice work and production, standing that website up with the team. And then I just felt something was missing. I was like, I miss the value that I brought to conversations. I miss the impact that I could have with individuals, And I know that the Learn ACC content is so valuable and so impactful, but I thrive better in an environment like this one, where we're all in a room and we're all talking and we're having conversations, whether it be remotely or in person. And so I sought some opportunities to come back to the delivery side, and through there continue to expand my knowledge. PlanGrid, BuildingConnected, Bidboard, TradeTap, Autodesk Takeoff, Autodesk Build, Docs.
And any ProEst? I mean,
yes.
estimating background?
Yeah, so that's actually how I ended up coming back. The only opportunity at the time was to come back through ProEst, because the acquisition had just recently happened as well.
Nice.
And they're like, hey, we're looking for some more ProEst support. I know you don't know ProEst yet, but with your estimating background, I think it'd be a really, really easy fit. And it was.
What I'm hearing so far is everything that's happened so far to you is timing. Perfect timing, right timing. The things just opened up at the right time, right place.
And yes, and it's something that it's really something that I subscribe to, where I tell myself, and just the expectation that I have for myself is, staying ready so I don't have to get ready. That way, when an opportunity presents itself, I can walk through the door no problem, because I've already done my pocket check. I got my wallet, phone, wallet, keys. I'm ready to go out the door.
Yeah.
Instead of going, oh, there's a cool opportunity. Oh my God, do I have everything that I need? I try to keep myself in a position where I am always ready to jump on the opportunity that's in front of me. Mm-hmm. And so the timing, some people call it timing. I call it, I'm prepared. I'm prepared, because the timing thing, that's just leaving it up to chance.
Yeah.
And yes, there could be some of that, kind of in play, but, you can't succeed with a chance if you're not ready.
Yeah.
So,
it's the right mindset.
Is it timing, or am I just ready for anything that comes my way?
Yeah.
Or try to be. I'm not saying I bat, 10 out of 10, but I like to keep my score above 50.
I like it. Yeah. Now I just want to wildly throw things at you, see if you can ninja catch them. I'm ready. I got this.
You could try. You could try. I'm always down I'm game. I'm always game. I don't shy away from a challenge, But if you throw something and I miss it and it hits the glass, that's kind of on you.
I know this is a little off topic, but you said this earlier, and it's been burning in my mind ever since. You went to a WWE event as somebody who grew up in the age of the greatest WWE, WWF franchise ever in the history, wrestling, The Rock, Chris Jericho.
Yeah.
I don't know how old you are, man, but
32. 33 in a couple months.
All right, I got a few years on you. What was your favorite generation of wrestling so far?
My favorite one that's just always that I always go back to is the Attitude Era.
Yeah,
that's what I grew up with.
Yeah.
It's completely what I grew up with. And it really gave me, I don't want to call it an identity, but it gave me something to aspire to in terms of showmanship. I take a lot from professional wrestlers. I take a lot from stand-up comics as well, because they are live on the spot, having to react to the crowd, having to react to the audience, and pivot without flinching. And even if you do trip, you have to pretend like the trip didn't even happen and keep it moving.
Or you meant to do it, yeah.
Correct. And the amount of confidence it takes to do that, just within yourself, is something that I immediately said, man, the amount of confidence you have to have, I want that. Yeah. I want to be able to be in that position. And so I learned a lot.
You get a grown man in a Speedo walking around in the middle of a wrestling ring. Like,
Yeah.
that's confident, bro. John Cena, man.
I mean, he did
that
jorts.
dude, I mean, he does jorts. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, Jesus,
But
dude.
you can't see him, though, so what does it matter?
What are you talking about? But the Attitude Era for sure is definitely my favorite. I still go back, when I want background noise or I really don't really want to watch something new, I'll go back to Peacock and just put on like Monday Night Raw from like 1998 on like a random middle of June, just to see what was going on.
Yeah.
And it's brings back a lot of memories. My father, in Puerto Rico, wrestling is it's part of the culture. And so I grew up, I'm from Puerto Rico, so I grew up watching, wrestling, and my father had such a big influence in that. And so this recent trip was me bringing him up from Puerto Rico to Orlando, and then we flew to Atlanta for the Bad Blood event. And it was a birthday, Father's Day, Christmas gift. But he didn't know all the details. But we sat front row.
Yeah.
So front row, Bad Blood event, great feuds taking place. There was a Hell in a Cell match, which,
Man.
when do you get to be front row for one of those?
Yeah.
And it was a very unique experience, definitely for the memory banks. More importantly, you go back and watch the replay, we're all over the cameras. We're all over the shots, so the phone could disappear, but at the end of the day, it's documented.
That's beautiful, man.
I
don't really know anything about wrestling today,
Yeah.
but back then it was huge.
Yeah, it was.
Had a big impact on my youth as well. I think as an adult, though, you mentioned comedians and all that stuff. That's like wildly shaping a lot of our culture today. Kill Tony, all that stuff is
my
gold,
God.
man. It's gold.
Have you ever been to the Comedy Mothership?
No, but I'm from Texas. I grew up in Texas, and I live in Pennsylvania now. It's on my list to go back. With some buddies of mine, we're talking about doing Zanies, Dave Chappelle comedy in Silver Springs.
Yeah.
Go down to the mothership, hit a few of them up, pick up this guy in Indiana,
that'd be nice.
do something fun.
Hell
But
yeah, dude.
I know it's off topic, but you said it, and I think these cultural things that we've kind of been drawn to, they cement us to where we are, where we're going, kind of, help. You mentioned earlier, like your attitude, who you are, help identify you. It develops your persona and sets the tone for the rest of your life and how you interact with people. I don't know. I find that as a very interesting piece, and I enjoyed hearing it.
No, I appreciate that. I like to think of it as, in the same terms of wrestling, there's a gimmick, and when I'm on, it's not a gimmick as in it's a fake version of who I am, but it is it's me turned to 11 or 12.
Yeah, confidence is on point.
Sometimes maybe up to 15, depending on what the situation calls for.
Yeah.
So it is me who you are seeing in those situations. You're just seeing it cranked up,
Yeah.
a little bit past 10.
Because I feel like you got to, when you stand up in front of a group of people and you're trying to tell something, like, you have to put on that aura, like, I am an expert, like, I know what I'm talking about. Because if you don't, people will turn on, like, they look at you like, if you stumble through what you're trying to talk through and you're not confident when you're saying it, in the initial session, like in the initial 10 minutes of a demo of running through things, you have lost their trust.
100%.
They can't trust you.
You put that on point this morning. Dave gave a build presentation.
Yeah.
And somebody came up to me afterwards and said, "You are the most passionate presenter I've ever had."
You have to be.
Captured us.
You have to be. And I'm not like that. Like, personally, I'm not like, you know me, dude. I mean, I am passionate. I'm outgoing. I love to talk about things. But I'm not like the person that will stand up in front of a room and try to command everybody's attention. I have to do that beforehand. Mentally, I'm like, I prepare. I think about it, and I'm like, all right, dude, we're going to stand up in front of this group of people. We're going to project your voice. You're going to, command this attention. This is what we're going to do. You are an expert. Like, you know your shit. Let's do this.
I'm glad one of us prepares, my friend.
But he's right, dude. You got to prepare. You got to be on your shit.
Stay ready so you don't
Exactly,
have to get
dude. And that's
ready.
where I'm at, man. Like, you have to be, because any variable that gets thrown in there, you have to be ready to answer that right there. Because if you're not, you lose it.
Yeah.
And the second that you lose that mindset, it sucks, because then you got to try to reset. You got to get back into it. Nah, bro. I'd rather prepare. I'm ready for it. Let's go.
Yeah, and that transcends. Let's take it back to stand-up comedy. If a stand-up comedian's doing crowd work and he starts to bomb, the audience can feel when they're getting flustered.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
I've been in those crowds, and the crowd will eat you alive.
Yep.
Same thing with professional wrestling when they're tripping over their promos, or The Miz, who A lot of people, love him or hate him, that's on you. I think he's got a great journey, and he has carved himself a Hall of Fame ballot, in my opinion. But you go back and watch one of his documentaries, maybe through A&E, who has fantastic documentaries on wrestlers, and to see how he came up, and there were some periods where I was like, I don't know how they kept him on the roster, in terms of how he was tripping up on promos. There was one where he completely forgot it and didn't even remember the number that he needed to give the audience, and the audience ate him alive.
Yep.
That is no different, because an audience, no matter on what you're presenting on, is an audience.
Yep.
And aura, you hit that word, aura. You have to project this aura of, okay, I need to pay attention to this person. At Bad Blood, The Rock showed up.
What?
At the very end of the event, he showed up.
Yeah.
He didn't even walk down to the ring, which a little disappointed, but he showed up, stayed at the stage, and just him coming out to the stage for 30 seconds, the only other pop that hard that I've ever been a part of was when Bad Bunny came out at the Backlash event in Puerto Rico for WWE. The roof wanted to fall off that place. The Rock coming out was a fifth of the time, and it was just as loud, if not louder.
Yeah.
Why? Because he brings an aura about himself.
Yeah, he
and
does.
there's this energy that he comes with, and you're just like, oh God, what is this? Who is this? I need to pay attention.
Yeah.
I remember his personalities before he became The Rock.
Yeah.
And nobody liked him. He was just somebody that was in the background. Now he's the commands every room he's in.
He didn't even talk.
Yeah.
He didn't even talk. He
The
came
presence,
out.
yeah.
He doesn't need
did
to
some
now,
hand
man.
gestures, and then went back.
Yep.
And you know what? Although I might be disappointed, I'm pumped because I got to be there for the aura. I got to be there for the if you
experience,
smell.
man.
I got to be there for the music.
Yeah, dude.
I was starstruck.
Yeah.
Starstruck.
Yep.
And I didn't even see him. I just saw him on the monitor and across, looking towards the stage.
Yeah, dude.
And then that kind of stuff plays into, the construction industry as well, in my experience. When you're teaching, when you're implementing, when you're guiding. Not just because you're guiding, but you're guiding adults. Adults who, let's be honest, they know more about their trade than we do.
Yep.
Oh, 100%.
And so to communicate in a way that is efficient, that is easy to understand, that is not undermining, if that's the word that I'm using.
Yep,
You don't want to make anybody feel dumb.
No.
Yeah.
Nope, not at all.
We all have our strengths. We all have our specialties.
And you might know how to use the software, but they know how to build a damn building.
Exactly. Yeah. And so, being open to just making it seem like, hey, I'm here to help. We're collaborating.
Exactly.
I'm not here to tell you what to do.
No.
But that does take communication skills.
Yes.
Yep.
And
Well-
I've taken that a lot from of course, clinical psychology major. So I studied a lot of that. I also invest in my own development, going to communication classes, presentation classes, and studying. Wrestlers listen to the podcasts, stand-up comedians listening to their podcasts. They leave a lot of good nuggets of information on how they deal with presentation, with how they approach, how they take control of a crowd, they control of a room, and really create that influence. And I gravitate towards that because that excites me.
Yeah.
I love that emotional IQ that you have, the mental clarity, and the willingness to invest inside of yourself for making yourself better. That's not something that's really talked about in our industry too much. It's just sell, adopt. What's next? Also fast paced. We got these problems to solve. What are we doing? Talk to product management. Let's figure this out. To take a step back and be like, I need to learn so much more and do better and be better, and I got to focus on how I can contribute and be better. That's an important aspect of not just our industry, but all industries that I think we could all take a step back and focus on.
I learned that through wrestling.
Yeah.
Dude,
If you
that's
listen
beautiful.
to some of the greats, they tell you, slow is fast.
Yeah.
Slow is fast. You look at some of the old school wrestlers, there wasn't a lot of high flying or fast paced stuff. When Undertaker walked across the ring, it felt like a lifetime. And when he threw the punch, it was slow, but it looked heavy, and it was, it was impactful. There was meaning behind it. And that's the same approach that I like to take with everything else that I do. I want it to have meaning. I don't want to do it just to do it. If I'm putting energy into it, it's because I want it to have an impact. That impact only happens if we take our time to understand what the outcome needs to be and what we need to do to deliver it to this particular audience. Similar with trivia. I did trivia in 2 different places, a restaurant bar and a country club. 2 completely different audiences.
Yeah.
And I had to communicate to each differently. And I did that every week for 2.5 years, every Tuesday and every Thursday. I can say I missed less nights than I have fingers on my hands, and I haven't lost one yet. So, it's something that I got a lot of practice through as well, and communicating with various audiences, effectively conveying information and entertaining. You have, to grab attention. If you're entertained, you're paying attention.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter what kind of entertainment, but if you're entertained, you're gonna pay attention. And I like to make everything and anything that I do as entertaining as I can, whether it's through humor, references, or just getting people involved. I don't know everything.
Yeah.
To your point, I know the software. You know how to build a building.
Yeah.
So tell me how you would do this, and I'll tell you how you can do this with the software.
Well, I want to go off that point too, because kind of going off what you said earlier there, brother. Like every implementation.
When you say brother, you gotta
brother. Let me tell you something, brother. It's not gonna work for me, brother.
But every implementation, every training that you go to take on, there's a give and a take. There's a 50-50, right? We got to learn from you. You got to learn from us. And that's like you just mentioned, you just said that, man. It's so important when you go to implement technology. Like, yeah, I can be an expert in this, but I still need to learn your business. I need to learn how you do things so that I can take that into the software and help train you to do exactly what you're trying to do, right? And it's got to be that give and take. And the other thing I want to mention, yes, it has to be entertaining, but it has to be interactive. Like, it has to be back and forth, man. It can't all just be one way. To teach it, you got to be willing to give your best practices, the tips and things like that, but to learn it, you really got to be willing to put yourself into it, to give information, to really like be up front, to be open to this change and open to see, okay, well, what are we doing right now? Can we do it better? Or what can we do better? And then let's go ahead and approach it with a good plan, a good layout, and let's go. But it's got to be that give and take, man. And you know what's
that interactive element, real quick? Just want to interrupt. I like what Learn ACC has to offer. It's it gives you the picks and clicks, but being able to ask questions about like why is this way?
The why is so important.
It is.
Everybody wants to know why. We've been asking why since we were children.
Yep.
Kids go through that why phase.
Yeah. It helps us understand.
Why?
It really does. I had a dude walk me through Civil 3D a couple weeks ago and how to do, surface comparisons, how to do volume comparisons, how to make a surface from a drone flyover. And anytime I've gotten this, I'm not going to lie to you. I mean, I've been trained on this probably at least 2 or 3 times in the past 5 or 6 years. But this time it stuck because the instructor that I had, the dude that I had teaching me on the other side of this wall over here, he's great because he the way that he taught me is that he taught me the understanding, the why would you go here, why you need to do this, why we elevate this, why we do this. And that, for me, dude, I was like, that's perfect. I remember it now. I remember every step. I can continue to do this. But
well, you're not remembering, you don't need to remember what buttons to click. Now you're like, oh, I know what to click because I know why I have to click it.
Exactly. Jinx.
That goes back to what you were talking about earlier where you were doing takeoffs manually before getting into the software, but once you get in the software, it's like, I know why I'm doing this now.
Correct. Exactly. And circling back to the interactive point, I want to tie that with entertainment. Not all forms of entertainment need to be showmanship.
Yep.
Some people are entertained by engaging. And if you can engage and if you can entertain in different facets at the same time, you're collectively impacting a multitude of people in one singular action.
Yes.
But you can only do that if you spend the time preparing on how to do that, understanding your audience, and quite frankly, trial and error.
Yeah.
You got to have the at-bats. You got to have the open mic nights. You're not going to hit 10 out of 10 every time. If I sat here and told you that every single implementation I've done in the last 5+ years has been a 5 out of 5, 10 out of 10, whatever rating system you want to call it, I'd be lying to you.
Yep.
That's not true. I bombed pretty bad where I'm leaving the site or I'm leaving the training and I'm calling my boss going, oh my God, I don't know if I'm cut out for this. Like, I don't feel good about that. Like, man, if you get negative feedback, like, I'm so sorry. Like, I'm already getting ahead of it or trying to because I'm embarrassed at the result. And, some of the coaching, thankfully, good managers do play a role in this.
Yeah.
They reinforce them. It's like, hey, it's not going to be 10 out of 10 every time.
Yeah.
What could have been better?
Yep.
X, Y, Z. Great. Make sure that
Learn
for the
from
next
it.
one, you are making those changes.
Yeah, man.
It's very, very important to learn from your mistakes and to not have some grace.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, we are all human.
We're all human.
It's as much as software is really booming, we are all still human, and construction is still very much a human/relationship-oriented, industry, in my opinion and experience. And we need to be able to connect as humans, but also forgive ourselves as humans.
It's part of that learning curve, man. It's part of growth. Like, you're going to have those failures, but you have to learn from it.
Correct.
You have to learn, you adapt. And once you do it, I'm the same way, man. I cannot say all of the cost implementations, especially early on, that I did were the best implementations no way.
How much learning have you had?
Oh, man. Yeah, right. Exactly, dude. Like, it takes a lot of learning, man, to figure these things out. And you take the failures with the good. You take the good and the bad. And that's what helps shape you. We talk about this. We were talking about it over breakfast. Like, you have these influences in your life, right? For me, my grandpa, my dad, different people all throughout your life. Some are going to be really good, awesome influences, and some are not going to be. But guess what? You're going to learn from all of that, and you're going to say, I don't want to do this. I don't want to be like that, but I want to do this. How, and this is the same way, man. You take away from that, like, man, not only do I want to shadow and see other instructors, but my own engagements. I want to check myself and see, like you said, what did I do? What did I not do? What could I have done better? And you got to keep doing that, man, because once you start thinking that, and you guys will never catch me doing this, even these guys, man, you're the expert, man, you're awesome.
We also call you out, too.
Yeah, well, you do. I'm going to say that, but I will always straight up nah, man, I always have more room to grow.
Yes.
Now, yes, I'm willing to say that I know my stuff. I know my shit, but at the same time, I will always have room to grow. I will always have people to learn from because I do not know everything about how everybody works. Right? So you gotta grow, man. And the more that you grow, the more that you're willing to accept that and take those gracefully. Like you said, don't freak out. Don't think the world's ending. You take it gracefully. You take it in stride. You collect that feedback and you grow, man. And that's how you become, the top, dude. That's how it is.
That's how you become the Rock, man.
Hey, that's it. The
Yeah,
people's
man.
champ.
Yeah, dude.
Always striving to be that champ wherever I
Yeah,
can
dude.
be. And it's so important, to have good people around you, but also to, again, forgive yourself and be open to learning.
Yeah.
Know what you know, be
Yep.
confident in what you know, but also be open to what you don't.
Yep.
And don't take feedback personal.
Yeah.
Oftentimes it's not personal. And listen, if you want to grow, you're going to be uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And then something else that also helps me be comfortable being uncomfortable is, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. So I've been doing that for 14 years. And
We are kindred spirits, my friend.
let me tell you, I am oftentimes on the receiving end of a hammer. And so, I've got a training partner, Pedro, water polo. The dude is a stud. And he beats me up. But after going through that, there's always this balance where for like a period of like 3 months, he's like whooping me left and right. And there's a period of 3 months where I've adjusted, I've learned, I've adapted. This is what he did. This is what I did wrong. And I start making those tweaks. And there's a period of 3 months where the table's flipped.
Yep.
And now I'm putting it on him.
Yeah.
And then the cycle repeats itself where we are sharpening each other in that regard, where he's learning, okay, I can't do this with him. I need to approach it here.
Iron sharpens iron, man.
And then
Yep.
we're playing, human chess with each other.
Yep.
But at the same time, elevating the way we're thinking, how we're approaching strategies, and being able to think on the fly.
Yeah.
Especially while you're uncomfortable. And something that's uncomfortable, is locking up in front of a construction audience, expecting you to be the expert, and you get stumped with a question. That's an uncomfortable position to be in and rebound from if you're not confident and secure in yourself to go, that's a great question. Let me get back to you with an answer. You know, it's totally okay to say, let me get back to you.
Yeah, don't be afraid to not know something. Accept the fact you don't know it, learn it, and get back to them. Man.
It's my approach to things.
Yeah,
you know?
man, I like it.
I'm not scared of failure.
Yep.
If I fail, I fail. It is what it is. I'm still waking up the next day.
Failing, you're not learning, man.
Exactly. And at the end of the day, whether I fail or not, I still get to go home. You know, beautiful wife, beautiful dog. Get to have my beautiful life.
Winning at life, man.
You know, so and it's okay. You know, I go back to that. I regroup, and the next day I walk out the door. Metaphorically, I work from home, so you know, I walk out the door. And,
dude.
And just try again. And just try again. Every day's a new opportunity to try again and get better, and to showcase, you know, what you bring to the table, and to also see what else you could be bringing to the table.
100%. What more can you learn? How can you grow? Continue to adapt. Yeah, man.
And the confidence is important. And I know the construction crowd is tough. It's one of the toughest crowds that I've
one of the most eager and interesting.
Absolutely. But they know what they know. And just like we are secure in what we know, they're very secure in what they know. And to their credit, they build the buildings.
They've got physical representation that they know what they know.
Correct.
There is something tangible that shows that they know what they know.
We are walking in going, they don't know that we know the software, that we know how to put what they're doing into the software and help them understand that. And that's where, you know, it can be a little intimidating. But again, stay ready so you don't have to get ready. Invest in yourself, not just in communication classes like I have done or in studies, but invest time in yourself to go, hey, let me spend a couple hours here, you know, exploring this, you know, the new plan room feature in BidBoard. Let me go see how this works. Let me test this out. Hey, you know, me and my colleague Jeevan all the time, we're like, hey, let's set up a little hour and let's just test workflows out with each other. I'm going to assign this to you. I'm going to send this to you. What do you see on your end? Okay, what if we did this? What if we did this? And, you know, not just with Jeevan, I've done it with plenty of other consultants at Autodesk, you know, in my tenure. And that's how we sharpen each other to prepare ourselves. You know, I also bring a unique experience from site development, but also estimating. You know, some of our other colleagues bring a unique experience from a financial standpoint, others from a trade specialty, concrete, you know, GCs, owner reps, things like that. And being open to ask questions. The curiosity is just it's such a wonderful thing.
Yeah, it is. That's a good segue into, usually towards the end of an episode, we like to ask a few questions. And the curiosity piece is great, because you mentioned a few things about always learning, being ready, staying prepared, all that sort of stuff. You're here at AU. There's, 12, 15,000 people here.
I feel like I've met half of them in the last 36 hours.
You won't sleep here. It's not the way this works. But there's a lot of sessions going, a lot of great sessions, a lot of ones that maybe you've contributed to or you've been aware of, like case studies that people are doing. But there's also a lot of new technology, a lot of new talking points, a lot of new things that people are bringing to light at this conference. I'm just curious, is there a session that you've attended or a session that's already on your radar that you're excited about?
Yes, I'm very excited. On Thursday, there's a customer out of Australia that I actually helped implement when they started their journey with ACC prior to joining into this partner consulting role. And they're presenting on how they transformed themselves through ACC. So I'm very excited to see from their perspective the journey from their eyes. I saw their journey from my eyes, but I'm not them. I came in to teach them about the software.
You didn't experience
not
their
about
struggles,
installing, not about electrical work. So I want to see it from their perspective, and the fact that it's going to be on a bigger stage than just in a room. Very excited to see how that's presented. There's a couple of others. They're really more road mapping. That I'm very excited because, again, curiosity. I want to see what's coming. I want to see what's going on, and I want to prepare myself. So when David reaches out asking questions about some new feature that's getting released or that has been released, I don't have to go, let me get back to you. Now, if I have to, I will. I can't know everything. Like I've implemented 7 or 8 of our solutions, and I can do that, but it can be a lot.
Well, ACC is getting larger and larger,
Yes,
so it's hard to
is.
be an expert
in everything.
Yeah.
Correct. And it's okay to be specialized, but very excited to learn more about what's coming down the road. In terms of sessions, I've really just been checking out some of my colleagues' work and really supporting them and the work that they've been doing with various customers and various trades and industries and things like that. That's really been my focus. Outside, of course, primarily meeting with the partners, the channel partners that I support. Like you guys here at TopCon and a few others here, checking out everybody's booth and making sure that if there's anything that I can do while I'm here to support, to be a resource or to strategize, that I'm able to do so, which is unique. It's the first AU, this is my third one and the first one where I'm in this position. The last couple I've been presenting myself, so a lot of the focus has been on attending various sessions, but also preparing for my own.
Yeah, man, you touched on something there. It kind of brings back a little bit of nostalgia, but for construction folks, I mean, you think about when you first got into the industry, when you start building buildings, right, or when you start making a site, you think about when it's finished, right? You go back every once in a while and you look at it and you're like, man, I had a part in that. That's awesome. Man, for us, it's kind of, at this point, obviously it's changed, right? You kind of mentioned that client, and I think about, man, I did this implementation with Indiana DOT, and they had a session last year, and it just feels so good to, when you implement technology and you find a client like you said, dude, you could see it through their eyes, how the implementation went from their perspective, but then also the value they're finding from it, the other things they've found, the reasons that they've used it. Like, I mean, dude, to me, it feels like it resonates to a building being complete. I've completed this project. They're out on their own. They're finding these features. They're presenting on why, they think.
Dave's raised the child here. He can
honestly,
go into the world.
Right? But it's like that, though. I feel like every client that I implement with, dude, I want them to be successful.
Yeah, absolutely.
I love hearing those success stories. I love feeling that they're successful. They find the value in it. That's a win, dude. That is a win.
Those are exciting, and I think you've probably got 60 underneath your belt at this point in time for ACC.
Yeah, quite a few. Yeah, man, it's been a lot.
It's been a busy year, but
insane.
One final question, though.
Sure.
So we were talking about road mapping earlier, and you were excited for other things on the roadmap. Just curious, what might be on the roadmap for Learn ACC? Are we going to see, The Rock or Rey Mysterio, or Luchador making an appearance? Because you want to keep us entertained. I mean,
listen, anytime I'm on a stage or I'm in a room you can never count out the fact that I'll probably whip out a Rey Mysterio mask and put it on.
Let's go, man.
And turn my gimmick up. As far as Learn ACC, I've been a little bit disconnected from Learn ACC since transferring out of the actual, self-learning platform. However, that team has been pumping new content left and right. So check out Learn ACC. There's always updated courses. Very recently, some work plan courses got released. So if you're curious about learning about work plan and schedules, there is an active course, up to date on all of the features. I think very recently there might have been. I'm not going to assume that I remember. I just know that there is new content always pumping out. The latest one top to mind is work plan. It's always worth checking out Learn ACC.
Yeah.
Learn ACC is always a good resource. You don't want to go back to an hour-long webinar and identify a 2-minute period. Learn ACC's got that 2-minute bite for you to go get up to speed and keep you moving on the site. Subtitles and in various languages as well.
Yeah. Now, I do want to ask you, because you mentioned it earlier, brother, and I know that, we've been working together on a lot of this, so where you might not be as, in tune to Learn ACC, I know you are in tune with TradeTap, BuildingConnected, Bidboard Pro, ProEst. What do you see, what excites you coming down the pipe there? Obviously we all know it's moving into ACC, right? The dream is starting to see all these pieces come in there. What are you excited for seeing with all these pre-construction pieces, all of the ProEst, like all of this coming into ACC? What are you seeing?
What can you share?
Yeah. Well, what can you share, and what are you excited about?
This will be a good note to end on.
I was waiting to see how we got there. Yeah. I'm actually very excited for some recent releases that actually dropped within the last few weeks, especially because estimating, in my experience and in my opinion, is where the budget is created.
Yeah.
It's the financials before the financials.
Well, it's close, near and dear to your
Actually,
heart.
I don't think we've talked about that
absolutely.
enough, honestly.
And there is a new feature.
We don't have time on this episode.
I know.
There is a new feature that just released where when you soft award a subcontractor in BuildingConnected, you're able to send that information directly into cost management and create a contract for that subcontractor. Whereas before it was a bit of a manual process. Now it's just, as long as your accounts are connected, it's a couple clicks of a button and you have the subcontractor, all of the contact information, and the awarded financial information to create that contract and cost management, and keep that, keep the ball rolling there, and it just makes it more efficient.
Well, it's pretty perfect because in BuildingConnected, you can create the SOV or they can create the statement of values, and then
you're gonna nerd out for
I
an
know
hour that we don't have.
I'm just saying, it's nice because when you think about it, when you bring that data in, it's something you got to build, you got to rebuild, like you were saying, in cost, you got to go through and rebuild all that. So the integration, man, makes a lot of sense.
And the plan room, bid board plan room.
Yeah.
That's been a huge ask. So subcontractors, you want to see what work is out there. Bid board plan room just released, allowing you to see public projects and add yourself to a package as a bidder.
That's a great note to end on. Lots of great improvements in the platform. A lot of great things to come, and Learn ACC. And if you haven't met Adriel Navarro, look for the guy in the luchador mask.
Yeah, that's me. Thanks, guys.
All right, thanks, man.